Yes, well, let's talk about all this with Dr. Alan Mendoza. He's Executive Director of the Henry Jackson Society. Good morning to you, Alan.
Hello, Julia. Good morning.
I mean, look, a lot of this we did know already. We've already had a lot of reports. It took a long time to come out, but reports about abject failures of the emergency services on the night, particularly from those in command. I mean, people on the ground desperately wanting to go in and heroically, try and save lives and treat those who had been hurt. But it was the senior, ambulance chiefs, fire chiefs, and things who would not allow them onto the scene because of fear of another bomb being set off. This is the first report we've had into actually what happened in the immediate run-up. We already knew that Salman Abedi was known to authorities. As we've seen with virtually all these terror attacks, these people have always been somehow identified previously. But this is just about an abject failing on the ground, on the night, by the people whose job it was to keep people safe. What are your thoughts?
I mean, it's just terrible reading once you start into it. I mean, it's mistake after mistake after mistake after mistake. Now, no, look, you're dealing with somebody at this point who obviously was ready to be a suicide bomber and was going to try and kill himself come what may and take people with him. The trouble was that the effect of these mistake after mistake after mistake was that he was able to essentially do whatever he wanted and act unchallenged in a public place where there should have been better safety precautions, where you may not have been able to stop the bomb from actually being detonated, but you could have done it in a different way. And I think it's very hard reading, particularly for the victims' families, obviously, to know that these mistakes may have contributed to the death toll on the night.
Yeah, it's the fact that to know that your child has died when they could have so easily, their life could have so easily been saved. I particularly feel sorry for the security guard. A member, a dad waiting to pick his daughters up, said, "Look, I'm a bit worried about this guy. Here's this guy over here with a big rucksack. He's been hanging around. It looks suspicious. This guy apparently been hanging around for about an hour and a half, hiding sometimes in a CCTV black spot. Again, why would there be an area around the stairs where there's a CCTV black spot? I mean, that shouldn't be allowed in these sort of public places. If you're going to have CCTV, there can't be black spots for it. But the fact that he was alerted, and the security guard said he did try to radio through. The radios weren't working. No one was picking up. He couldn't get a signal. But he didn't know whether to approach this man. And his concern at the time was, I'm going to be accused of being racist. It's a man of Middle Eastern appearance. He was of course from Libya, Middle Eastern appearance, and he's got a backpack on. I'm going to be accused of being racist. And that, I think, is an absolutely crucial point here, is people are so hesitant about not wanting to do the wrong thing. And I very specifically remember after the Westminster, this attack happened between the Westminster Bridge attack and the London Bridge attack. And I can remember very distinctly around that time, all those calls, almost immediately after any terror attack, we had people from the bleeding heart left saying, it's very important that people don't turn on the Muslim community. Very, very important that we need to stand together as one. And there was lots of lighting of candles and vigils and concerts to bring people together. And I remember saying at the time, look, you're focusing on the wrong thing. We need to be tackling the actual issue. But there was a real issue about not wanting to sort of point the finger at the Muslim community, which, by the way, no one was doing. They were pointing the finger at the Islamist killers, not the law-abiding, perfectly good vast majority of Muslim people who live in this country, just like every other religious group live in the country. But do you think that actually that message, that sort of don't you dare tar every Muslim with the same brush, or anyone of the of Middle Eastern appearance with the same brush, that may have actually been crucial in the failure to stop lives being lost?
I agree. Look, I think it's sort of, once you get relentless messaging saying, don't do this, don't do that, it's racist to do this, it's racist to do that, it means that, security personnel who would otherwise go, hang on, that looks a bit suspicious. Yeah. I'm not so sure that I like what I'm seeing unfolding before me. If it was a white person doing it, I might, kind of go and investigate what they're doing. Might go, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. The trouble is, the minute you give someone intent on mass murder the benefit of the doubt, they will be able to commit their crime as they intended it.
Yeah.
Look, I think it's important to note that he would have detonated come what may. I mean, that is quite clear. Once he got there, once he had the bomb primed, he would have taken the security guard out. But that doesn't, obviously escape the point that he was acting suspiciously. Nobody wanted to approach him for various reasons. And one of the reasons was clearly because they felt I'd be tarred as racist. Maybe they even thought, oh God, if I do this, I might get disciplinary. All the rest of it.
And that's where we can't be too hard on some of these people, especially the security guard. Probably on minimum wage. Being told to keep him secure and to sort of take the risk of losing his job by saying something or doing something and thinking, is it worth me risking this? I mean, the odds are he's not a terrorist, so I'm just going to create problems for myself. And it's very easy to be very wise after the fact, isn't it? But when you're actually looking at somebody having to make this roundup of decisions at the time, much harder. In terms of the police, though. People going off on long breaks when they weren't entitled, 2-hour lunch break, weren't allowed, or 2-hour break, they weren't allowed to go on a 2-hour break, leaving the scene completely by 5 miles. We'd seen, at the moment that these thousands of young people were being released from the concert, there were British Transport Police who were supposed to be on the scene in this mezzanine level, and they weren't. They were at the train station nearby, chatting to each other. They're on CCTV footage. There's an awful lot of people in this who apparently weren't doing their job.
Yeah, I think BTP does not come out well from this whole saga, unfortunately. It's clear that, people are taking a lackadaisical approach to the roles they were playing, thinking, oh, well, nothing's going to happen here. It's, a bunch of girls. That's really essentially what not any trouble. We don't need to be there in quite the same way. And of course, unfortunately, the people concerned forgot their first duty is to protect the public. That is what, the police are there for.
Yeah.
And I think, there'll obviously be serious questions asked about how people are in the BTP and other forces, I guess, conducting themselves at all times, even when it appears that the situation is benign. You always have to expect the unexpected.
But there was heightened alert. This is the thing. We'd only recently, had a terror attack. This was in May. We had the Westminster Bridge attack in March. We were definitely at a heightened level of awareness of terror attacks. That was in the news all the time at that time. So I find it extraordinary that there wasn't that level. There's Sir John Saunders who's conducted this review, and he said, look, he wasn't looking for scapegoats. This isn't about pointing the finger. Well, if you'd done this 8-year-old wouldn't have died. There's no point in that. But he said, where people did not do their job that they were actually told to do and didn't make reasonable decisions, he was going to speak out about it. But he also made a series of recommendations, including making it a legal requirement for large venues to have a duty of care to protect their customers and staff from terror attacks, to make sure they've got the security in place, they've done suitable preparation, and they've got the staff in place. Do you think that would make a difference if that was actually enacted?
Well, I think part of the failings were with the venue itself, not training staff properly, it appears, and various, as you said, the CCTV component. Yeah, I think, look, we've got to introduce a legal requirement here. We've got legal requirements for all sorts of other health risks or kind of safety risks, things that are also
one-way systems in pubs, apparently.
One-way system in pubs? Oh, you mean a little different, I guess. But when you look at this in the perspective of buildings and venues, they know there are risks, unfortunately, when it comes to accommodating people. We know in 2021 Britain, terrorism, incredibly, amazingly, shockingly, is one of those risks. We know that there are people out there who want to go and blow up their fellow citizens in arenas and other such places. And venues have to take it seriously. They have to take the fact that there is a security threat seriously, and they have to make sure it's guarded, and that they have provided the appropriate training and the appropriate surveillance to make sure that their venues are as safe as possible for people to come to.
Absolutely. Thank you very much indeed for talking to us. Very much appreciate that. Dr. Alan Mendoza, Executive Director of the Henry